Okay, I'd like to call the meeting of the Municipal Building Authority for Murray to order. We'll begin with the approval of the minutes for October 1st, 2019. Could I have a motion, please?
I'll move approval of the October 1st, 2019 minutes.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passes. We'll now have a statement from our Secretary-Treasurer, Brett Hales.
Okay, I'm going to read Exhibit A, Certificate of Compliance with Open Meeting Law. I, Brett Hales, the undersigned Secretary-Treasurer of the Governing Board of the Municipal Building Authority of Murray City, Utah, the Authority, do hereby certify, according to the records of the Authority in my official possession, and upon my own knowledge and belief, that in accordance with the requirements of Section 52-4-202, Utah Code Annotated 1953, as amended, I gave not less than 24 hours public notice of the agenda, date, time, and place of the October 15, 2019 public meeting held by the authority as follows. A, by causing a notice in the form attached hereto as Schedule 1 to be posted at the principal offices of the authority on October 11, 2019, at least 24 hours prior to the convening of the meeting. Said notice having continuously remained so posted and available for public inspection until the completion of the meeting. B, by causing a copy of such notice in the form attached hereto as Schedule 1 to be delivered to the Salt Lake Tribune and Deseret News on October 11, 2019, at least 24 hours prior to the convening of the meeting. And C, by causing a copy of such notice in the form attached hereto as Schedule 1 to be posted on the Utah Public Notice website at least 24 hours prior to the convening of the meeting. The authority meets on an as-needed basis. In witness whereof I have hereunto subscribed my official signature this October 15, 2019.
Okay, thank you, Brett. That's a matter for the record. We'll now move on to item 2. Consider adoption of a resolution of the Municipal Building Authority of Murray City, Utah, authorizing the issuance and sale of not more than $37 million aggregate principal amount of lease revenue bonds, Series 2020, and related matters. Brenda Moore presenting.
So 8.5 years ago, when I started working for Murray City, I was told we needed a new city hall. I looked around and thought, it looks fine, it was functional, we're good. Having worked here for 8.5 years, I now know why we need a new city hall. Besides leaky windows, bad plumbing, and having to send citizens to other buildings to get building permits or business licenses, when we have an earthquake, it is almost a guarantee that the building will collapse. And if it happens at a police shift change, all those first responders we count on to help us will be needing help themselves. After much deliberation and looking at various options, a site has been selected, property purchased, plans drawn up, and now we are here to discuss and hopefully authorize the financing piece of getting a new city hall. After consultation with the city's financial advisor, Matt and Preston from Stiefel, Randy Larson at Gilmore Bell, our bond counsel, city administration, and members of the city council, it was determined the best way to finance City Hall would be through lease revenue bonds. Let's see if I can get this to work. Lease revenue bonds work like this. The city leases the land City Hall will sit on to the MBA for $1 per year, and the MBA then has the right to use the property for the term of the lease. The city, through a master lease agreement, leases the City Hall building from the MBA. The city pays base rentals to the MBA. The lease is renewed annually through the city budget process. Investors think the likelihood is low that the city will not pay the lease payment, because we need the City Hall. The MBA then issues bonds to finance the construction of the City Hall, secured by the lease payments under a leasehold deed of trust and a mortgage on the property. The process, the city adopts a resolution creating the Municipal Building Authority. This was created years ago, I am not even sure when, for just this type of scenario. The city and the MBA adopt and authorizes bond parameters resolution, notice of bonds to be issued, and the notice of a public hearing. That is what we are doing tonight in the MBA meeting and in the City Council meeting. The MBA holds public hearing. The city undertakes typical bonding activities. This is all provided that this passes. Drafting a preliminary statement, procuring bond ratings, selling and closing on the bonds, and the city leases the project through the MBA, which is memorialized in the bond documents. So the bond parameters that we are discussing tonight, that you will vote on. Maximum par amount is $37 million. I am hoping, beyond hope, that we never get that high. I'm hoping we'll go around $29 to $30 million. But we need room, construction costs are growing, other things could happen. The maximum interest rate, 5.5%. Currently, we're thinking it'll be right around 3.5%, 3.6%. Depends on what day it is. But we're hoping not to get anywhere near the 5.5. Maximum term would be 31 years. We're looking at a 30-year bond. Maximum discount percent would be 2%. That would mean we would accept nothing less than 90% of the par amount. We are thinking this is such a good deal, people are going to want to pay us more for our bonds than par. So we will actually end up with more money than we are bonding for. The other thing you're voting on tonight is designated officers. For the MBA, those are the chairman, secretary treasurer, and the finance director. Later, when the city council votes for the designated officers to do the financing, it will be the mayor, mayor pro tem, and the finance director. The MBA resolution you will be voting on assigns and delegates the people I just mentioned to do the City Hall project, authorizes the issuance of the bonds to finance the construction of the new City Hall according to the bond parameters and execution of all matters related to it, calls for a public hearing on the issuance of the bonds with the appropriate notices to be sent. That will be on November 12th. Authorizes entering into a ground lease for the City Hall property with the city and a master lease agreement for leasing the building to the city. So that is what the MBA resolution is going to do. Later, the city resolution does essentially the same thing. Let me flip my page so I can read this. Assigns delegates to act on the behalf of the city for the City Hall financing. Authorizes the issuance and sale of the lease revenue bonds by the MBA to finance the construction of the new City Hall according to the bond parameters. Authorizes entering into a ground lease for the City Hall property with the city and a master lease agreement for leasing the building to the city. And then I am told for the record, since your is an abbreviated version of what this resolution does, I'm going to read you the title of the resolution. So the resolution you are voting on is a resolution of the Municipal Building Authority of Murray City, Utah, the authority authorizing the issuance and sale of not more than $37 million aggregate principal amount of lease revenue bonds, Series 2020, the Series 2020 bonds, delegating to certain officers the authority and the ability to approve the final terms and provisions of the Series 2020 bonds within the parameters set forth herein, fixing the maximum aggregate principal amount of the Series 2020 bonds, the maximum number of years over which the Series 2020 bonds may mature, the maximum interest rate which the Series 2020 bonds may bear, the maximum discount from par at which the Series 2020 bonds may be sold, calling a public hearing, providing for the publication of a notice of public hearing and bonds to be issued, providing for the running of a contest period, authorizing and approving the execution by the authority of general indenture of trust and a first supplemental indenture of trust, a bond purchase contract, a master lease agreement, security documents, ground lease, and other documents necessary for the issuance of the Series 2020 bonds, authorize and approving the use and distribution of a preliminary official statement and an official statement, authorizing the taking of all other actions necessary to the consummation of the transactions contemplated by this resolution and related matters. Do you have any questions for me?
Any questions from the council?
Yes, I just want to make sure I understand this process. So this will start a 30-day public hearing process.
The public hearing will be held November 12th with our normal, I think there will be two notifications of that.
Okay, so public comment.
Public comment, it can start now and for the next 30 days.
Okay, that's
Until
what I
the
meant.
public hearing.
Okay.
And then there's also a contest period that starts at the publication of our second notice.
Okay. Great.
And that lasts 30 days.
Our next meeting regarding this will be November
Will be
12th.
November 12th, and there'll be a
There'll be a public hearing
at the Municipal Building
for the
Authority.
citizens to be able to come in and be able to share their thoughts on this.
Their thoughts on
Okay,
this. Yes.
great. So about a month from now. Thank you.
Yes.
Great.
Any other questions?
Nope, thank you, Brenda. Okay, we've had our council questions. Is there any discussion by council? Okay, seeing none, we'll ask for a resolution on this matter. Motion?
I will make a motion to adopt the resolution of the Municipal Building Authority of Murray City, Utah, authorizing the issuance and sale of not more than $37 million aggregate principal amount of lease revenue bonds, Series 2020, and that's it?
Related matters.
And related matters.
I'll second.
Motion and seconded.
I'd like to explain my vote. My vote is aye, but I want to just go off what Brenda said. We have not only first responders in this building, but we have very valuable employees, both to us and to their families. And if the Wasatch Fault so much as burps, this building's going to come down, and we need to do something about that. Aye.
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 Aye. Okay, that would conclude our Municipal Building Authority meeting. Thank you.
Okay, with that, we'll go into our regular council meeting. Opening ceremonies, I've asked John Harris to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, our fire chief.
That was exciting.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Chief. Before we move on, I see we have some scouts. If you could stand up, tell us your troop and what merit badge you're working on. Give us your names.
I'm Zach. I'm Philip.
We are working on the citizenship and community merit badge, and we are from Troop 392.
Okay, thank you for coming. We appreciate you coming.
Thank you for having us.
Next order of business, approval of council meeting minutes, September 17th, 2019. Are there any changes? I'll take a motion if not.
I'll move approval of the council meeting minutes for September 17th, 2019.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you. Next, special recognition. Murray City Council Employee of the Month, Steve Coleman, Senior GIS Analyst, Robert White, and Brent Hales presenting.
I like to this is fun with people like Steve because he doesn't gloat over this kind of stuff. So I like to tease when I say Steve asked if he could get this award, and I'm kidding you. All right. Well, we're excited to have you here, and so Steve, you've been with us over 30 years. 32 years. 32 years. He doesn't look 32 years old.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Now you're supposed to say that to me also. No. Yeah, he can't say it.
We're the same class.
Yeah, okay, yeah, we're the same class. I know that we're the same class, and I look like your dad. But anyway, okay, so we're excited, though. This is an opportunity for us to recognize our employees as a council. And everyone that knows Steve knows that he's a kind gentleman, always willing to help, and really, that's the way you come across to the city. And so we appreciate you. And it's fun for us to be able to, if we have questions, to not feel like we're a hindrance when we're asking those questions, even though we may be. But we're excited to be able to present this to you. So there's $50 for it's a gift certificate. I don't know if you get to keep that or someone else gets that. Yeah, I'm thinking like, okay, look at him. What a smart guy. He did that fast. That was great, Steve. That's the fastest we've ever had that given away. And so, and then here's a certificate, and we'll have your name put on back there, and like Dale said, until this comes down, and then we'll move it over to the new place. But we're just excited, Steve, because you've been an honorable employee here for so long, and a lot of people look up to you. And before we turn it over to your boss, Rob, we'll just give you a big hand from all of us here.
Well, I promised Steve I wouldn't give him a hard time, even though he has a lot over the years, but he's a good guy. I want to thank him for all of his work that he's done. He's always been there to lend a hand, to help out whenever we needed it. Heck, when we had phone systems, he would reboot it for us all the time and help out with the public works. And so I'm really grateful to him. I wanted to read this really quickly because Ben wrote this, and I thought it was really nice. So. Steve has always gone above and beyond to help anyone that walks into his office, whether it's someone needing training on the GPS equipment, changes to CityWorks, or a general map request. You can count on Steve to do a great job and get things done as quickly as possible. Steve has been invaluable in his work with CityWorks and Munis, addressing setup, as well as other projects like evaluating stormwater impervious areas. In his work on the stormwater impervious project, he was able to identify those customers in the city that haven't been paying stormwater bills since the utility was created. Through the analysis and working with Stormwater Department, he was able to identify 40-plus properties that were not currently being billed, and several others that weren't being billed for the correct amounts. In all, this project has led to an increase in revenue of $35,000 per year for the Stormwater Department. Steve has been a valued employee of Murray City for over 33 years. He has started in Public Services Department, working in both sewer and water departments. He then had the opportunity when GIS technology was getting just started to transition and help the city and use it to implement this emerging technology. We are grateful for his dedicated service and that he is part of our GIS team and the IT department. Thank you, Steve. Really, going over this, though, water, wastewater, streets water, engineering, ADS, he's worked in all these different areas over the years, and he's been just great to work with. I've known him for 22 years, and it's been a pleasure working with you, Steve. Thanks, Rob. Now, why don't you introduce your family and introduce everyone here?
That could take a while. All right, I'll start with the oldest. Sorry, Dad. Some of you might know my dad, Fred Seiler. He was a fleet manager here for a lot of years. So he's here. My mom, Bonnie. My wife, Shawnee, is over there. Raise your hand when I call your name. My oldest son, Cameron. His wife, Chelsea. And then we have Lincoln and London, their kids. I have my son, Colin, in the back. His fiancée is working, so she couldn't be there. And his daughter, Navy. And then my daughter, Brandy, my little angel right there. So these are the people that support me. So I just want to say, throughout my career, I can honestly say this is one of the best things that's ever happened to me and my family. I've raised some great kids, got some great grandkids, made a lot of friends along the way. There's a lot of you out there that I work with every day, and it's an honor, it really is. So I can truly say I'm proud to be a Murray employee. So I'd like to thank Rob and Ben for recognizing me and my efforts. I'd like to thank the council for supporting the employees and the mayor and his staff for supporting the employees. It's been really good. I deal with a lot of people outside of Murray, and we got a pretty good place here. We really do. So I'd really like to thank all my family for supporting me tonight, but most of all, my wife for standing by my side and listening to my Murray stories every night. So thank you all. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Steve. Okay, we'll move on to citizen comments. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes. Step to the microphone, state your name and city and residence, and fill out the required form. And just so you understand, we're listening to what you say, but we can't speak on something that isn't on the agenda, so we'll listen and take any action we can at a further or future time. Thank you.
You guys probably know my name already. I'm Brent Barnett. Is this on? I'm Brent Barnett. I reside at 491 Vine Street. And I'm so glad to be here in Murray, where my parents grew up, where my grandparents lived, where my great-grandparents lived, where my great-grandfather was the mayor around 1916. I titled my remarks on transparent government to the City Council of Murray, Utah. Hello, everyone. I don't speak up very often, but I have a very tough thing to bring up to you, and I hope you will understand. I and a number of other citizens were quite shocked to see the simple agenda item for a $37 million bond on today's agenda. We talk about transparency. All of us, including our dear mayor, espouse transparency. Yet there is no way in the world this is a transparent action. No matter what the source of the money, no matter how the bond is made, if we believe in transparency, this simply doesn't make anyone proud. I respect all of you for the work you do. I marvel at your dedication. I respect the mayor tremendously and appreciate all the work he does. I have remarked to him many times how I could never fill the shoes he does. I just feel that what we are lacking in our current situation is our commitment to truly believe in the people of the city, to truly believe that the final result will actually be better, not worse, for everyone, if everyone understands and everyone participates in the process. Since it is for a good cause, why even taint it with bad transparency? I am all for a great new city hall, but I and the ones in this room are ones of a very few who follow this process and see the direction our mayor is going. I simply do not believe that this is fair for all the people out there who have no way of knowing what is playing out here. I realize it may be very hard to vote against this, but I think this is a rare chance to stand up for the citizens and to respect the citizens' voice in this process. I do not mean that we reject the mayor, but I believe we let him know that he needs to make his case to the people and take the necessary time to do it. I think the outcome will be a more unified city because people will know they had a part in this, and they will know that the city actually listens to their ideas. Thank you again for everything and for listening to my humble words.
Thank you. Will you fill out a form, please? Anybody else? Okay, not seeing anyone else, I'll close the citizen comments and move on to business items. First business item, consider a resolution of the Municipal Council of Murray City, Utah, authorizing, approving, and executing and delivery of the master lease agreement by and between the city and the Municipal Building Authority of Murray City, Utah, the authority, and a ground lease agreement authorizing the issuance and sale by the authority of its lease revenue bonds, Series 2020, in an aggregate principal amount of not more than $37 million and related matters. Brenda.
Jennifer's going to start by reading compliance with the open meeting.
Okay.
This is the Certificate of Compliance with the Open Meeting Law. I, Jennifer Kennedy, the duly qualified and acting City Recorder of Murray City, Utah, the issuer, do hereby certify, according to the records of the issuer in my official possession, and upon my own knowledge and belief, that in accordance with the requirements of Section 52-4-202, Utah Code and annotated 1953, as amended, I gave not less than 24 hours public notice of the agenda, date, time, and place of the October 15th, 2019 public meeting held by the issuer as follows. By causing a notice in the form attached hereto as Schedule 1 to be posted at the issuer's principal offices at least 24 hours prior to the convening of the meeting, said notice having continuously remained so posted and available for public inspection until the completion of the meeting, and by causing a copy of such notice in the form attached hereto as Schedule 1 to be delivered to the Salt Lake Tribune and the Deseret News at least 24 hours prior to the convening of the meeting. By causing a copy of such notice in the form attached hereto as Schedule 1 to be published on the Utah Public Notice website at least 24 hours prior to the convening of the meeting. In addition, the notice of 2019 annual meeting schedule of the Municipal Council attached hereto as Schedule 2 and any amendments thereto was given specifying the date, time, and place of the regular meetings of the Municipal Council of the city to be held during the year by causing said notice to be posted at the principal office of the Municipal Council, provided to at least one newspaper of general circulation within the geographical jurisdiction of Murray City and posted on the Utah Public Notice website during the current calendar year. In witness whereof, I have hereunto subscribed my signature this October 15th, 2019.
You'll probably be happy to know I'm not going through the slides again, but I will read the title for the resolution that you have before you. It's a resolution of the Municipal Council of Murray City, Utah, authorizing and approving the execution and delivery of a master lease agreement by and between the city and the Municipal Building Authority of Murray City, Utah, the authority, and a ground lease agreement authorizing the issuance and sale by the authority of its lease revenue bonds, Series 2020, in an aggregate principal amount of not more than $37 million, authorizing and approving the execution and delivery by the authority of a general indenture of trust, a supplemental indenture of trust, bond purchase contract, certain security documents, and other documents required in connection therewith, authorizing and approving the distribution and use of a preliminary official statement and an official statement authorizing the taking of all other actions necessary to the consummation of the transaction contemplated by this resolution and related matters. Do you have any questions on what the City Council is approving tonight?
Anyone have any questions for Brenda? Thank you, Brenda. Thank you, Jennifer. All right, I'll bring it back to the council. I'll consider a motion or any questions.
Excuse me. I'm prepared to make a motion if that's appropriate at this time, Mr. Chairman.
It is.
Okay, a motion to adopt a resolution of the Municipal Council of Murray City, Utah, authorizing and approving the execution and delivery of a master lease agreement by and between the city and the Municipal Building Authority of Murray City, Utah, the authority, and a ground lease agreement authorizing the issuance and the sale by the authority of its lease revenue bonds, Series 2020, in an aggregate principal amount of not more than $37 million and related matters.
Thank you, Councilman Neponsky. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Jennifer?
Mr. Ross?
Aye.
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 Aye. Next, number 2, consider a resolution requesting the recertification of the Murray City Municipal Justice Court, GL.
Thank you. A couple of you have been through this process before. State law requires that the Justice Court be recertified every 4 years. That certification is, that 4-year term is up in January. As part of this, you have a memo from me explaining that I believe the court is in compliance and that it's feasible to continue the court. You also have a resolution that says the city will continue to maintain the Justice Court, that it's feasible to do that. And then you have also the judge's certification affidavit that he's in compliance as well. We go through this process, like I said, every 4 years to recertify. It's a requirement under state law. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer those.
Anyone have any questions for GL?
Nope.
Okay, I'll take a motion.
I'll make the motion. I'll motion that we adopt a resolution requesting this recertification of the Murray City Municipal Justice Court.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Jennifer?
Mr. Ross?
Aye.
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 Aye. Okay, finally, consider an adoption of a proposed revision of section 4 and 5, 6, 7, 8 of the rules of the Murray City Council. You'd think they'd leave the Roman numerals out and just put numbers so I could read them. Jan Lopez.
Dale. We just have a couple of minor changes. One minor change, and this is to the rules of the Murray City Council. On page 6, it's editorial in nature, and the sentence would read, "Confine remarks to the topic, avoiding personality differences." And then...
That's no fun.
Where's the sport to that?
At our last revision, we added the audit section, and we failed to add an audit committee. So at this time, we'd like to formalize that. For many years, the budget chair and vice chair have served as the audit committee, but we're going to add that to the rules should you approve this tonight. And that reads, the audit committee shall consist of the City Council Budget and Finance Committee chair and vice chair, and the council executive director as staff support. This committee shall convene as required, 1, during the selection of the audit firm, 2, annually to review audit procedures and conclusions, and 3, for any other such purposes as the City Council deems appropriate. Any questions?
Anyone have any questions?
Nope.
I'll consider a motion.
I'll make a motion. We adopt the proposed revisions to section 4 and 8 of the rules of the Murray City Municipal Council.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Jennifer?
Aye.
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 Aye. Okay, we come to the mayor's report. Mayor?
Thank you. Just a couple of things this evening. First of all, last evening we had our annual pumpkin races in the park, and they were a great success. And I appreciate council members Brass and Cox being there. I think Jim, your grandson, I think did very well in the race. And,
Yep.
but it was a lot of fun. So an event we look forward to every year. So thank you for your support of that. Just want to let the council know that the Walden Glen lift station that has been under construction for some time is now complete and functional. There is still a little bit of construction to finish up on the outside of the building, but it is functional and working now. So we're pleased to have that up and running again. Just in case anyone asks, Rocky Mountain Power has been in and removed some trees from a portion of our golf course and also at Willow Pond Park. As you know, Rocky Mountain Power owns the right-of-way through there, and our parks and golf course touch part of their right-of-way. These trees were too close to their lines, so they went ahead and removed the trees. But they did provide us with vouchers for each tree to be able to purchase new trees to put in place. So, but in case anyone asks, I think it'd have to be someone that's down there quite a bit to notice that the trees are gone. But there's I think a half a dozen trees at the golf course, and maybe a few more than that in Willow Pond. And then finally, I just want to make a comment about. I had the opportunity, as you all know, serving on the council for a term before being elected mayor, and during that time, we had the opportunity to approve the purchase of a number of pieces of property in preparation for the new city hall. This process has been going on for many years in preparing for this day that we're finally getting ready to do this building. In my first State of the City address 2 years ago, I'm going to quote one of the things I said. I quoted a Murray Eagle newspaper article from May of 1978 that discussed the building of a new city hall in the downtown redevelopment area west of State Street. And I said in my speech, after 40 years, it's time to stop the discussing and start the building. I believe that construction of the new city hall in the redevelopment area will spawn new interest in private development on the remaining property, including the State Street frontage. End of quote. So my point of even bringing this up is that if someone is claiming that they're paying attention to this process and this is taking them by surprise, they're sadly mistaken. This has been a long process. It's been very public all along the way. I think if you're hearing that someone says that we're not listening, believe me, I talk to a lot of people in the city, as do each of you, and I do listen. I am paying attention. What I'm hearing is that, well, you're not listening to me. You don't agree with me. And I think what we're doing is we're doing what's best for the public and something that needs to be done. So thank you for your support of this new City Hall project. And that's the end of my report, unless you have any questions.
Any questions for the mayor?
Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. This meeting's adjourned.